All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Alea Iacta Est Community Town Hall, October 2018. I am joined tonight by Langtheris and Seema, two of our council members. Hi, Langtheris.
Hi.
Hi, Seema.
Hey Max, hey
Just making
everyone.
making sure we can hear both of you. We're going to go through a few things tonight. So I've got an agenda up on the visual. We're going to talk about all of the games that we play, give a little bit of a quick update on each of the games that we play and what AIE is doing in those games. We have 8 game divisions of our major MMOs that we play, and a bunch of side things beyond that we're going to talk about in detail. We're going to talk about a bunch of AIE events, some real life stuff that's going on, things coming in 2019, and of course, a couple, or at least one big thing coming in the next couple weeks. We will also talk about things going on in our public view of AIE, blogs, streams, podcasts, and a few of those kinds of things. We'll get a rundown of your guild's tools, all of the communication tools that we have available to us as AIE members, and remind you how some of those things work. We will then kick off the Q&A by giving you a little bit of a background of what the officers have been doing lately and a little bit of a peek behind the curtains on how the officers work, and then go through some of the QA that's already popped up in the Q&A channel and that we've heard over maybe the past couple months. As we go through that and as we go through the agenda tonight, I'm hoping that anyone that continues to have questions, post them in the Town Hall Discord channel. As you post them in there, we'll be watching for those, and during the QA session, we'll try to get as many of those answers as we can. And anything we can't get answered, we'll try to answer afterwards. All right, so let's get right into it. So ESO, to kick it off in alphabetical order, Elder Scrolls Online. I've been playing quite a bit of this. We've got Dan Kinia, who's running this division, and I hope they've all switched over. They were gonna do a little bit of house visiting while they switched over to this channel. They were in their mandatory fun night, their guild fun night tonight. So across multiple divisions, we have these things called MFNs, these mandatory fun nights. ESO runs theirs on Friday, does a bunch of either open world stuff or gets into some of the dungeons. I've had quite a bit of fun running through that, doing things like getting into some of the achievements focused around the latest Somerset expansion. There was a server-wide, or actually a game-wide challenge for everyone to get a set of achievements, and as a result, everyone who's been playing the game for the past couple months got a new house in the game. So ESO's been quite fun. If you have any questions, definitely check it out in the ESO channel. That group is in there pretty much every day. There's at least a handful of people in there every day, and then the Friday night is sort of the bigger thing where everybody runs around and does stuff. There's a couple guild services that we have. We've got a guild house. There's not really guild housing, but we've got a house set aside with some extra stuff like a banker and some of the crafting tables in there. It's quite fun. So that's a good one. So that's ESO. Langtheris, I hear you play some Eve. Why don't you tell
I
us about that?
hear I hear that I'm a terrible person because I play a terrible game where we do terrible things and blow people up. But yes. So yes, I'll be like Thursday talking about Eve Online. Just so you know, as we speak, Eve Vegas is going on right now. So there's a lot of announcements of the game. We'll get those straight off right off the bat. They've announced Eve Explorer, which is now going to be Eve on your phone. Kiss your battery goodbye. You get to find out the glory, serene, downright terrifying game on your favorite Android or iOS device. RIP. With that, also the announcement of Project Nova, which is the looks like it's the reincarnation of Dust 514. With so we'll see more about that. So if anyone remembers, Dust 514 was tied into the game. You actually interact with those two games. I don't know what that point, if that's going to happen now, or at least with this point, at least with the early alpha announcement. But hey, you get to shoot your friends in the face, to their face, not through a ship. So now we got through all that stuff, and I know there'll be more announcements. So we'll find out as the weekend goes on. So AIU is has been involved in a months long combat, and we have been doing a tactical retreat and grinding what some would call defeat, others say content, because we it's great. Test Alliance, our former alliance, who was basically trying to pick on us, they grew sick of us to the point where they've called out a non-invasion pact. So basically, you don't shoot our stuff, you don't shoot, you know, and we don't shoot your stuff because we're so sick of you, and we had to use capitals to try to take over your space because you're annoying. So now we're getting used to living in our new space. With that, of course, further integrations with Winterco. In case you didn't know, AIU, of which is of course a corporation with the Alliance Blades of Grass, which is a component of the larger what's called Winterco Coalition. In EE, it's impossible to play the game by yourself, so you have to have friends. So it's our big group of friends. Winterco being primarily made up of a group called Fraternity, which are a bunch of space pandas. Yes, space pandas, as well as groups like Lord and of course ourselves. So that not usually there's some kind of like cultural reclamation because you're doing with different corporations and different alliances. Now we're doing with altogether different nationalities. Getting used to playing with the Chinese has been interesting, as well as all the other like fun things that come along politically, social politically and geopolitical with the Chinese. With that, we've got a good maybe half dozen, actually now more than a half dozen new players who've joined Eve, both from the larger AIE contingent, but also from out from yonder, new people who've never experienced AIE, let alone AAU in space. So that has been interesting, we've been expanding our borders that way. Now that things are kind of going back to normal, the resumption of space capitalism slash space communism has started up again. It's the names of our programs where we go ahead and run either mining operations or we basically make money by ratting or shooting rats. Space communism, of course, has taken a turn for the interesting as our great CEO, the almighty Houdini, has decided we are going to build a capital ship. We are going to build an avatar. We are building a Titan. What could possibly go wrong? All I'm saying.
So for people that
This
don't
is
know, these are the ships that cost the equivalent of hundreds, if not more, dollars of real world dollars
so the current
in exchange rate.
cost for the hull, I believe, is 6 billion ISK, which roughly translate to a couple of $1,000 American, and that's
Holy.
just for the hull.
So yeah, that's gonna end in tears, but
So
that's what we expect.
some call it the cherry upon our Sunday. I call it the grand like handkerchief where we will go ahead and sniffle our snot away when we lose it because we will lose it, and it's going to be glorious. And again, why not? And with also that said, with kind of a lot of the projects and kind of the programs that we're running, a lot of the AIE leadership is actually kind of started to migrate also into the alliance leadership, which is kind of cool and kind of terrifying because man, that's a lot of nerds and a lot of nerds that speak different languages from different countries. So yeah, expand your borders,
Yeah, but
make friends.
it's a good example of AIE in this particular division having an impact in the larger community, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, and it beyond all that, it's like we are involved in the metagame. We are involved in space diplomacy, as Hoots loves to engage in. Even though he says he doesn't, he does. It's one of those things that makes this game great. Is that congratulations, we are playing Space Dune, the Herbertian book, where something that we do comes back to bite us in behind years or months later.
The ISK must flow. Okay.
The ISK must flow, and when all else fails, just ask Hoots and he'll reverse embezzle.
All right. All right. Simo, what about Final Fantasy?
Well, Final Fantasy, if you have ever gotten the itch to play, it's on the Goblin server, and I'm sure Abavan, who's the game director there, would be more than pleased to welcome you in. Fan Festival, which is sort of their BlizzCon, is going to be happening in Las Vegas in a little under a month. And I guess the exciting thing there is this possibility of an announcement of a new expansion.
Yes, that's the rumor there. So we've been, I know things have been a little bit light, but we always have a couple people playing Final Fantasy. It's been a little bit light. Abavan expects it to pick up after FanFest because it usually does. People get excited and come back and log in their characters. I have, what do I have? I have a black mage that I've been playing lately in there, and I do need to finish leveling that up and see what's going on. There's always lots of really cool events too that they're running there, which I think is really
And
fun.
then by the only real measurement of MMOs, Final Fantasy is right up there, which has a very cute small race.
There are some pets too, but they're not as cute as some other games.
I heard
In my
there's
view.
cat girls.
There are cat girls. All right, Guild Wars. Guild Wars is another game where we definitely have an MFN that runs in Guild Wars. Again, Guild Wars sort of gets big and gets small as people shift back and forth between MMOs. Dejara, who's running the division for Guild Wars 2, runs that on Monday nights. I typically see them in Discord on Monday nights in the Guild Wars channel, so I know it's continuing to run. I've dropped in there a couple times, definitely around the Summer of Love and sometime after I was in there. One of the things that they have in Guild Wars in terms of guild services is sort of a guild house concept. The guild house in Guild Wars, though, is a whole zone. And that whole zone provides you the opportunity to be building and leveling up different buildings and structures across this zone. There's even like intra-zone travel that you need to worry about. The place is huge. So they're continuing to build that out. That's really cool. They run their MFNs on Monday and do real world stuff. Guild Wars has continued to grow and change and mature over the years. So that's another interesting game to check back in on and get to if you're ever interested.
They also have a pretty cute small race.
to be clear. Lengtheris. How about Lord of the Rings Online?
LOTRO. As you all know, LOTRO on the Landerval server. Kinship House, I believe. Which would make sense for the LOTRO folks. But then also they've update 23 has been released, so evidently there is now dwarves in the game. Dwarves.
Well,
yes, but how
Dwarf
small
Homeworld.
are they?
Can
Dwarf
you toss
Homeworld.
them?
But they have like little cute hobbit girls. I guess you could deal with that. Seema.
Oh God, no! And with that, the level cap has been raised to 120. Wow, level caps.
Right. So that seems like it's been a pretty significant expansion. So it's the update 23 was that background on the dwarves, the Blue Mountains, the Durin's Kin. The other thing that's interesting in LOTRO is it works pretty well as a free to play, and they also are one of those games that has a lot of really good fun seasonal events. In fact, I think there's one going on right now called Harvest Math that you could get in and check out. We had a couple people in Discord this past week asking, how do I get in the kinship? How do I check in? What do I need to do if I'm going to resurrect my character? My advice was, number one, you need to figure out which instrument that you're going to play in the AIE band. That's what you need to worry about.
I want the trombone.
So for anyone who's not familiar, Lord of the Rings has this really cool in-game music system where you can get a band together. Each person can have a different instrument, and you basically upload MIDI files. You synchronize MIDI files between all of the different players in your band. And then once you're ready, the leader of the band can hit play on all of those synchronized multi-part files, and your band in-game plays synchronized music.
You can also go to YouTube and search on LOTRO bands and see some phenomenal stuff.
Yes, you can.
In-game people playing their instruments.
We have a whole library of music that the AIE band has played in the past, so keep an eye out for that in the future.
You know, speaking of music, I see no questions in the town hall Q&A. Don't make me do something you'll regret later on.
Speaking of music, okay.
Segues. Also, in terms of free to play, Star Trek. Star Trek is a really interesting free to play game. If you're a Star Trek fan at all, it's worth checking out just because it's easy to play free to play for one, and for two, it's pretty true to all of the Star Trek lore. In fact, Age of Discovery has just launched, but all of the ships and all of the races and all of the the themes from all of the different Star Wars or Star Trek, all the different Star Trek genres and shows over time are represented, and they're represented relatively well. This is another game where we have sort of guild housing. And so we have a fleet in Star Trek Online. We have fleet holdings. So we have a sort of a fleet station of our own. And what you do in the fleet station, this fleet space station, is you continue to do research projects to build up components of your space station, which unlocks various abilities and perks for your fleet. So that's for AIE. So that's an interesting one to get in there and check out. You can join our fleet and make use of some of those services, for one. For two, this is also another one that has good in-game events over time. Even being free, you can get in on those in-game events and get some significant rewards. I played this in the summer. They had the Ryza event, which is sort of like a fun and games beach planet that you go to, and you sort of did dailies on the beach planet. And I did enough of the dailies over the course of that Ryza event to get this really giant, really cool spaceship that I get to fly around now. So that is cool. Speaking of spaceships and flying around, how's Star Wars doing relevant to my interests, Seema?
Well, in Star now I did it. In Star Wars: The Old Republic, we also have guild housing in the form of a flagship. And since we have guilds on both factions, we have an Imperial Guild and a Republic Guild, we have flagships on either side too. And we can use our flagships for summoning, so we can summon people to just about any place in the galaxy using them. So that's a cool feature. But right now we're working on something called Conquest, which is a system in the game where each week we earn points toward rewards and the guild works together. We have a couple people that are guild members that are really smart in Conquest and tell us where the highest rewards are and how to spend our time and when we're doing well, and it works out great. We also have weekly mandatory fun night on Tuesday nights where we many times we'll do an operation. We try to hit conquest targets so that the guild gets a boost in points early in the week. We might also kill world bosses. We might do some unique one-time missions that might require a group so that it's easy to do when we're all together. And then we have a new semi-new event called Mega, which is the monthly epic guild activity.
Yes. Ding, ding, ding. You got it. I can never remember it either.
That was started by our very own new father, Marcus, who just had a baby this week on Wednesday. He started it. He is being reasonable though, and he won't be running it this month. We will be running it, so it's going to be on October, near the end of October. But we have information somewhere on the actual date. But we'll be doing something Halloween themed and fun for that. Star Wars also has a pretty robust free to play, so you can always come and join us for many things for nothing.
Yes. Yep, that is a good one. I am definitely in there quite a bit as well, as you can imagine. And World of Warcraft. I hear this is a pretty popular game. I spent my time leading up to the town hall tonight, leveling up my troll on the, let's see, what server is that supposed to be on? The Ravenclaw?
Yes, Ravenclaw. No, Ravenhold.
Yes. So there are tons of things going on in WoW. WoW continues to be the anchor of a lot of our guild and our guild activities. We continue to have many players. We have 11 co-guilds still running. We have 9 or 10 raid teams still running. The very extensive community continues to run in World of Warcraft. Battle for Azeroth has been an amazing expansion. Well, I think it's been an amazing expansion. Our guild typically thinks it's been an amazing expansion. Just don't read the forums.
Right.
It is amusing and interesting, and I think it's going to continue to develop. But the real fun of AIE in World of Warcraft is the things that the guild does together. So a huge highlight, in my view, for World of Warcraft is what goes on Saturday nights, which is New Braid. So this is the weekly open guild event. Dankinia runs this, and you can get in there. It's 11 p.m. Central, 11 o'clock Central. You're gonna have to look it up and ask Dankinia. I'm not good at time zones. 10 p.m. Central. 10 p.m. Central.
Yeah.
That's it. New Braid, they've been going through LFR of all of the new raid. They're soon going to be moving into 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central. Dankinia is in the Twitch chat room. She can confirm. They're soon going to be getting into normal mode on the raid and getting through that whole raid and killing Gahoon. Really fun, really great group of people. That's definitely a highlight of things that are going on. And then WoW also has a very extensive group focused on running monthly guild events. The guild event coming up this Sunday, so 2 days from now, is the Running of the Beef, the 15th edition of what we call Running of the Beef. So this started as an idea many, many years ago of, hey, let's do a cool thing and get, let's all roll level 1 Taurens and go run around and run into Orgrimmar. That has evolved from since then into a very extensive event and has happened 15 times. If you are interested in jumping into it, you need to be leveling up a troll on the Ravenholt server up to level 10 and just have it ready to go in the starting area. So here I will put up on the screen real quick.
It takes almost no time to get to level 10, so don't be put off by that part.
Right. Takes almost no time, except if you want to if you've never done the troll starting area before, which is actually pretty cool. I got to see the discussion between Vol'jin and Garrosh, and there was some harsh words between those two.
Yeah.
That was a thing. Definitely check out the blog post on that monthly event for Running of the Beef. Get your level 10 troll all ready to go for Sunday, and we will see you in there on Sunday. Couple other quick things on WoW. The process for getting invited into the WoW Guild has changed. It used to be you just joined an in-game channel for AIE LFO. There's now a community. So the communities are a much better sort of open channel model that Blizzard has put into the game. You can check on the email you get when your application gets approved. You can also look at the pinned posts in the WoW channel in Discord, and there's also a post which describes it on the blog site, which describes how this works. That channel is pretty easy to get into, and the best way to get to officers if you need to get to anyone. A couple other interesting things that are going on from a WoW perspective that you may want to also hear about and are relevant to your interests. There's been a bunch of rank updates, so we're now going to make it easier for you to get in and right away get into the guild and get bank access. It's pretty transparent to most of our members, but it's a big help to the officers and works well with the way the guild works today. We're continuing to try to make those kinds of process improvements and updates to the guild and how the guild works over time. I'll talk a little bit about it at the end as well. And another similar update is a post that just went live on the guild website. It's the first post if you go to aie-guild.org, and it describes a new service, a pilot program that we're trying out, which is for raid team guild vaults. So what this is going to do is allocate a tab at this point out of one of our co-guilds for each of our major raiding guilds. So I think we currently have almost as many raiding groups as we do co-guilds. We're going to run it with a couple to try it out. We're going to see how it works over the next couple weeks. We're going to be looking for input and interest from additional raid teams. Check it out. This may be an opportunity to solve an issue that a couple people and a couple teams have talked about over time, which is in today's age of raiding, it's very difficult to have all of the materials that you need and share them amongst all of the team members so that everyone has the right potions and scrolls and cauldrons and trading fish so people can make the cauldrons and all of that kind of thing. Having a bank tab available will hopefully alleviate that and be an extra little service that AIE, the guild, can provide to our raiders. So check that out as well. And three cheers to Cyrene and Gusty, who are anchoring with a couple other people, the events team, and will continue to have those fun monthly events for everybody. Okay, that brings us to everything else that's not those 8 major MMOs. So I'll kick this off, but we're all going to take different pieces of this that are relevant to our interests. Nomads. This is what we call Nomads. So if you ever looked in Discord, there's a channel in there called Nomads, the Nomads channel. That is where we encourage everyone to go and connect up and ask about any of those games that are not those 8 major MMOs that we already have a division set aside for. If it gets big enough in Nomads, if the discussion gets big enough and there's enough going on, we may spin off additional Discord channels, like for Destiny as an example. We do have a Destiny clan now. We do have an extra channel in Discord because there's a lot of people playing Destiny, especially when it launched, but we still have a full clan in Destiny. But that's one of these sort of Nomads games that sort of grew up. Another discussion just this past week, Rust. We played Rust a while back. Corley, one of our officers, spun up an AIE Rust server. That went away for a little while as interest sort of waned and we played other things. That has spun up again in the past week. So if you go into the Nomads channel and check out Corley's latest posts about the Rust server, if you're interested to see what the latest is going on in Rust, that's another example of sort of people trying out these things on the side. Also in that category, Lantheris, why don't you talk about all of the Blizzard, all of the rest of the Blizzard stuff, which we all play.
Blizzardy stuff. So I've got it under some authority, let's say great authority, some authority that there's going to be a big announcement about Diablo at BlizzCon. So what it is, I have no idea. Possibly an expansion, Diablo 4 question mark. I'm not sure, but with the recent announcement of Diablo 3 coming to the Switch and some initial rumors about possible crossplay amongst all the different platforms, maybe we might be seeing a resurgence of Diablo on the Switch and some of the other consoles and desktops. I don't know, so we'll find out there. Overwatch, it's pretty. The game is pretty much mature at this point. Maybe an announcement of another couple characters, so we'll see. Maybe some other additional functionality, particularly when it comes to like guilds or teaming or looking for groups or such. Because I know it's not the major issue on the desktop, but if you play like on a console like me, it makes you sad. Very sad. HOTS I have not heard very much, and Hearthstone I am pretty sure there'll be announcement of yet a new expansion coming soon.
Interesting. I was always, and maybe it's because I was never very good, but I never got all that much into Overwatch. I did play a lot of Heroes of the Storm though. I would love to maybe spin up some of that with some people in the Nomads channel. Maybe I'll take a look at that. I know we do have a lot of people that play Overwatch. If you're an Overwatch player, definitely check it out. Definitely get in there. I know Cyrene, for example, is a good Overwatch player. I know we have a couple hardcore Overwatch people in AIE in general. That's a great one to look at.
Viva for life.
Yeah. What else, Seema? What else is on the radar out there for what might be coming?
So there's this thing that people have been asking for and that Blizzard has said they were going to do called WoW Classic. And what it's going to be is one of the initial releases of WoW in all its nostalgic glory. There's going to be a playable demo of it in about a week or so to anybody who's bought the Blizzard virtual ticket for BlizzCon and on the floor at BlizzCon. And so I'm unreasonably looking forward to this because I remember, walking until level 40. I remember that and I still want to do it.
I remember, what was it, 40 gold for a mount, and that was like
gold for a mount,
and like an unreal, like months worth of grinding to try to get
yes.
that much gold. It was unbelievable. Yeah.
Yes, uphill both ways in the snow. So I just keep thinking of things that were just horrible back then, and I still want to do it.
No paladins on the horde side, and only having shamans on the horde side.
Right.
That epic paladin quest.
if you're interested in WoW Classic, there's a ton of stuff to read about it, and there's also a lot of content creators on YouTube are doing um, content about it. It's partially here's how it used to be, just to remind you, and then there's speculation, and I guess I guess we'll get to see at least a couple of zones during the demo at BlizzCon. So
Okay. We'll see
um,
if that shine wears off real quick when people realize
yeah, I I
Once they
know.
realize, oh look, I have to go through Stranglethorn Vale again, and I'm
I
getting it.
mean, considering some of the things I don't even want to do now, it's kind of funny that I'm. Anyway, we'll see.
yes.
Does anyone remember where that tiger used to be in Stranglethorn Vale? Because I sure don't.
Mm. Yeah, that was a fun one to tame always.
Never, never.
And then sort of on a different end of the continuum, um, Amazon Game Studios is working on an MMO called New World. It's they're starting up a closed beta, a closed alpha, which you can conceivably become part of if you want to. It looks like it's going to be sort of a mix of MMO and survival game. It kind of reminds me of what people talk about when they talk about Star Wars Galaxies, because there's a lot of player run merchanting and crafting and building, and you'll be able to build uh, resources and towns and villages and structures, and then you have to defend them or capture others. Um, yeah. So, I mean, Amazon is doing it because they can, I guess.
I guess. I I put my name on the list. You get in there to just do a search for New World Amazon. Then it takes you to your Amazon account and signs you up for notifications, which in theory then puts you on the list for the beta or the alpha
Yeah.
or whatever, which I did. So we'll see what
It takes
happens.
place. It takes place in a different like Earth history, but it's its own history in like say the late 17th century.
Yep. Yeah.
And it
Interesting.
like during the day it's all wolves and bears or the mobs, but then at night the supernatural more
Did you
supernatural mobs come out.
did you say the 17th century?
Yeah, I did in the late 17th century.
A world devoid of toilet paper and forks.
Yes, it is. Another interesting sort of side game with a little bit of a spin. Crowfall is out there. It's another sort of little bit of a guild v guild, realm v realm, capture large scale nodes on a map type of game. Probably appeal to like an Eve type crowd to some degree. That's of interest. I know a couple people are looking at it. Bach, for example, I know is looking at it. There's another group out there, Tenacious Gamers. They're another guild. They've started up a podcast and they reached out to us and they said, hey, I know you guys may look at this or may not. If you want to get some information, here's some resources. Here's the resources we're putting in our podcast. I mean, we'd love it if you come to watch our podcast. But also, if you guys get into this seems like one of those games where alliances are going to be important, and it's sort of how we have in Eve alliances. They've reached out and they've made it clear that hey, they would love to potentially, they're like-minded to the way AIE's culture is. They would potentially like to form an alliance. So that's fun that we're sort of hearing that kind of thing and getting recognized from that perspective too.
Allies are always important and
Yes.
and a lifesaver. Nothing like a bat phone.
Right.
Just
Right.
saying.
Right. Uh, um, it already came up in the chat room, so I'll just mention it real quick before we get to Link talking about Dual Universe. But Fallout 76, that did come up in the Q&A channel. I know there's going to be quite a bit of interest in that. There will be, I think an AIE focus in figuring out how we can and have some fun as that comes out and becomes available.
I just hope they have the ability to expand your radio because I can only listen to Uranium Fever 30 times before I need to kill someone.
So this has come up. This even came up in a little bit of the pre-talk in the town hall channel. Dual universe. Explain this to me, Lank.
So, Dual Universe is a sandbox space MMO, very similar to Eve. It's still very pre alpha. What makes it unique is that it's all voxel building. So a lot of the like a lot of like a lot like Eve, a lot of the ships will be either destroyable or constructible. And they claiming to have a lot of the same kind of features and some features that are never really been fully supported in Eve being supported in Dual Universe, which includes alliance and coalition and actually player-led space governments. So this has got our attention,
Yeah.
particularly since they're heavily flirting with us with the E folks and saying, "Hey, look what you can do!" And oh, by the way, you can possibly design your own spaceships,
Yeah, that
which is a
does sound
good
quite
and bad
interesting.
thing
Right.
because
Well,
I mean it's great, but also
NSFW
bad.
spaceship shapes immediately. Yes, I can see where that's going to go. But
Last
yeah,
thing we need is last thing we need is a bunch of space eggplants. But anyway, I digress.
sandboxy space games, that's definitely relevant to the Eve crowd interest. So I could see us taking a look at that. And then I listed a few more. Ashes of Creation. I know there was a few people playing Maple Story 2 that came out in the last week and a half. This kind of thing. Anything else that you see or you're playing or you're trying out, put some notes there in the Nomads channel. Get some other people to play with you. That's the kind of use of that channel. And if it spins up and it gets big, we'll spin it out. We'll put more of a structure around it, and we'll create more channels around it, and support it in a bigger way if it warrants it.
Oh, actually, I didn't realize there was a video, a dual universe gameplay trailer about 3 weeks ago. So I should probably post this in the channel so people can see
Great idea.
because it sure does look pretty.
Yeah, it does look interesting. All right, let's talk about events. So I'm going to kick it off with what's coming in 2019. Events, AIE real life events. These still do exist. These still do go on. This picture that I'm showing up, that's Nerdtacular. Sadly, there wasn't any Nerdtacular in 2018. We haven't heard if it will ever come back. I'm quite disappointed. This was a great real life meetup event for AIE and a classic. However, we do have other real life meetup events, and I think we're going to, because now we feel this vacuum, we feel this gap, we're going to spin up more. One in particular that's, again, relevant to my interest. I don't know how many times I've said that tonight. I'm going to stop saying that. Star Wars Celebration is coming to Chicago. Hey, I live in Chicago. Star Wars Celebration will be here in April. There will be an AIE meetup associated with Star Wars Celebration. We will have a place where I can probably fit at least 12 to 15 people in a sort of a bigger suite in downtown Chicago for a little bit of a meetup, whether or not you're going to Star Wars Celebration or not. And maybe we'll do a couple other things around it as well. AIE, the Guild, AIE Star Wars Old Republic, is also part of the BioWare community, very connected to BioWare in a couple ways, the game developers for Star Wars The Old Republic. The SWOTOR team is going to have one of their Cantina events. We'll definitely be going there as well. And then I'm going to be with my kids and pals from all across the community and AIE at Star Wars Celebration. So that's an example. Cyrene is also spinning up an idea, which you might see her start talking about relatively soon. There is an event in Indiana called Hall of Heroes Comic Con in September. Again, it's a little bit sort of more Midwest based, but it's not downtown Chicago, which is going to be sort of complicated and potentially expensive to get to. She's thinking September for Hall of Heroes might be interesting. So keep an eye out for that. That would be something else that she can get info from Cyrene on. And I think that sounds really cool. That's also not very far from me. But we've got a bunch of people in Arizona, and we've got a bunch of people on the East Coast, and we've got a bunch of people on the West Coast. Let's try to identify more places when we can have these kinds of meetups. Get those posted. There's an events channel in the community in Discord. Events, meetups, just posted in general if you just want to have a place to ask if anybody's going to PAX East, PAX West. We had people meet up at PAX East this year, for example. Let's make a bigger thing of those. I think it's always really cool. I know, Lank, I know you've traveled to meet and hang out with guildies across the country. This is something I would love to see happen more in 2019, especially.
Yeah, I base most of my vacations nowadays with who I can see in which area. And the case in point, you were mentioning about like these regular events, like Eve. At least here on the West Coast in LA, I actually run two Eve meetups that are open to not only to people in the guild, but with the larger like Eve community. And that's like we can usually run like anywhere from 6 people to like 20 people.
Excellent.
And you can, come and hear me talk like Eve space politics and make fun of Dunk Dinkle. And if you know who that is, kudos to you.
So if that's future stuff, we do have a relatively significant AIE meetup location coming quite soon, don't we? I should talk a little bit about our BlizzCon plan this year, like, because I know it's sort of a little bit of a twist from previous years.
Yes, unfortunately, just because of the required like work and funding, um, having our usual traditional guild hall is kind of was not being. We couldn't do it this year. It just got too expensive, and the organization required just wasn't just there this year. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a bit more kind of like the old school like meetup in the fact that uh, probably Saturday afternoon we will get together at a local at a location there, not a restaurant because with the sheer number of food trucks now, we don't have to meet there. We can actually meet on site. So you'll see more information posted on this very soon, where everyone's will show up at like say 1 o'clock, which is a good time because there's a bit of a lull in the action there, and just bring whatever food you got. We sit around and we'll talk, and I'll post the exact location of that very soon, as well as on Sunday morning. There's a small family restaurant nearby called Tiffy's Restaurant, which everyone gets together, has pancakes. Some people go ahead and go home, and some people decide to go ahead and storm the Magic Kingdom next door. So that will also be going on. So we'll have two kind of in-player meetups at the event, or event adjacent.
At a minimum, too. Yep.
At the minimum too, because you know how these things go. Because all you had to do was be there a couple of years ago when Wormwood was there and listen to his epic yarn, where he ended up in Anaheim, ended up in Long Beach, ran for his life, almost died, and came back.
So keep an eye out for that. To support the what we're doing around BlizzCon live in those meetups, there's a new section in Discord. So if you scroll down just below where people are in for the town hall right now, there's a BlizzCon section. There's a news channel, there's a meetups channel, and there's a general channel. And then there's also a live voice channel. So Link will talk in a second about what we're going to do to virtual, but this is where you should be posting and looking for information for those meetups in particular. And then we'll talk about the twist on the news and general discussion that we want going on too from a virtual perspective. So what about that, Link? What about virtual?
So the virtual. So a lot of us are going to get the virtual ticket. So what's the funnest thing about watching something virtual is to all get together on Discord and comment and joke and make fun of the. Oh yeah, Morheim's not going to be there this year, right? That's true. And make fun of all the horrible jokes that they have put on there, and make fun of all the people who show up for the cosplay. And oh, I hope to goodness they don't have the dancing contest again because, man, that's just painful. But a general way to just kind of comment about what's going on, as well as if you actually do happen to be in the event, posting pictures, small videos, any and all things that goes on. I know I'll be there snapping pictures of people here and there, maybe getting an on the spot kind of like interview thing. We'll see.
Excellent. So this is the way I'm going to experience BlizzCon. I'm going to be getting the virtual ticket. I would love to see people in the live voice channel doing Mystery Science Theater type joint watching and commenting on the streams as they're going on live. Let's use that news channel for either anyone that's live or has the virtual ticket that wants to sort of live blog major news items like this is what they announced for Diablo. Post those things that's in the news channel for the people that don't have the virtual ticket. So we're sort of keeping that discussion going. And then, yeah, for the people that are there live, picks or it didn't happen. Let's get those going in the general channel. So
I propose a drinking game. If you're watching the Overwatch stream, every time someone uses Hanzo, you take a drink.
Yes, and then the other one will be for the WoW Q&A. Every time anyone makes a reference to a turtle has made it to the water, you have to take a drink.
Oh God.
Exactly. All right, let's keep it rolling. We got a couple more things to go through. So I'll hit this real quick. Our external public presence. These are tools available to you, but this is also for us to reach out outside of our community. don't underestimate the value of this in pointing people to this, pointing people who are outside AIE so that they can get a view of what the guild is all about. Our guild website is our #1 place for external view of the guild and guild news. Our major news items always show up on the guild website. We'll talk about how Discord works sort of as the core of our guild separately in the guild tools, but blog posts, major news items, the things like our major events, those will all or should be getting posts on the guild website. So definitely check those out, forward those around, post them to your various social nets because that would be cool. What about podcasts, Seema? Tell me about the podcasts.
Well, sure. First of all, the AIE podcast, which is on Sunday evenings about every 2 weeks. Makala, Mukau, and Tetsumi do that podcast, and it's great because for each podcast, almost each podcast, they highlight one of those 8 games we talked about, or also a Nomads, and you get to hear what's going on in that game currently and what they're looking forward to. Plus, it's just fun to hear what everybody's up to on that podcast. I always enjoy listening to it. Sunday nights.
Yeah.
Then Max and I do a podcast called SWTOR Escape Podcast because we don't do anything that doesn't have a pun involved. That is once a week, and we do it mostly on Tuesday nights, but sometimes we end up doing it on Thursday nights. But that's our plan. We talk about what's going on in our guild in SWTOR, what's going on in SWTOR, and mostly we just razz Mac. And then also Working Class Nerds is another podcast, AIE podcast, that's put together by Marcus and his friend Nick, and they talk about all things Star Wars. And they talk about other games as well as Star Wars The Old Republic, and they talk about AIE.
Yeah, so the AIE podcast is obviously the core of our broadcast history inside of AIE. But we've got a couple of these other podcasts. We've had Cap Stable in the past, which has been an AIE Eve podcast. I would love if that came back. And I heard there were some rumors.
I heard that, I heard it's coming back.
You have heard right.
With whistling in the wind there.
Wait on a couple of things, namely like time, but odds are it will be coming back. Excellent. And also not to pimp the AIE podcast enough. I hear this Ferris guy is going to be on the show a week from Sunday.
There we go.
I hear he's kind of a loon.
So if you have to miss one.
Yeah. So there's these. I would love for there to be more. So yeah. Let's keep an eye out for other opportunities to spin up additional podcasts. This is a really fun way for AIE to be out there in public. Another fun, well, I put a bullet here at the end. I don't think we have all that much on it, but we do have a Facebook page and we have Twitter. If you're going to use Twitter as a location to get information about AIE or broadcast information, hashtag AIE Guild is the main tool for making that happen. There are a couple Guild Twitter accounts that post news on a regular basis, but for me, I just I use that hashtag AIE Guild tag, and I have a column in my tweet deck set up dedicated to hashtag AIE Guild. That's a great place to keep an eye out for things in social networks as well. Facebook is a little bit more of in a loose state, a beta state. We've piloted a couple side projects on Facebook, which we may spin up and make bigger. We have a side project there that was trying to create a showcase of all of our raid teams in WoW. We might do something more with that. We might change up how we do that. That's just another side social location to keep an eye on, and to see if that's something we want to develop for an external presence. Bigger than both of those, and slowly almost becoming on par with the sort of the blog site and our podcast, is our streaming. So we've got a couple key streamers in the guild. Dankinia is wonderful. She's one of our stream stars. She definitely streams all of the new braids. She definitely streams all of the MFN, the mandatory fun nights for ESO, and then streams a bunch of other AIE stuff in general. So you can check that out. That's either rebroadcast and hosted on the AIE channel or broadcasted directly from the AIE channel. And then Cyrene. Cyrene streams quite a bit. And Cyrene and Accusad have a new show once a week, usually Saturday, which is Cyrene and Accuzad's Gaming with Guildies. So this is almost sort of like a fireside chat while they play a game, and they talk to a guildie or a couple guildies about the game they play and do a little bit of a Q&A. You can think of it in terms of, if you ever watched Comedians in Cars getting coffee, Comedians in Cars getting coffee. It's sort of designed around that kind of concept, and it's a wonderful concept. They've done a great job. Cyrene bamboozled and convinced Accusad that he needed to come be part of this, and he's tried to get out, but we've pulled him back in, so that's really good. He's been an AIE podcast star in the past. His voice still introduces the AIE podcast if you ever listen to the AIE podcast. So he's great to listen to and be part of that. So that's excellent.
Yeah, just to say, when we were on there, when we were on the show about a month and a half ago, we got Cyrene blown up.
Yeah.
3 times.
Yes.
I heard about that.
3 times.
So if Eve is your game, tell her you want to get on and play games with her, and then make her come fly with you in test space. But streaming, again, with the streaming, we've got a couple streamers that are streaming things. I stream on there occasionally. We host the SWTOR Escape podcast gets hosted on the AIE channel as well, so that shows up on there. However, this is an opportunity for you as well. If you stream independently on your own channel, definitely be posting that or whatever else you do from a content perspective to the content creators channel in Discord. We want to see those things. There's great things getting posted in there. Zeffie's got a bunch of her blog posts that she posts in there and surfaces those through the content creators channel. People that are doing their own podcasts and their own streams are posting them in there. I love seeing that stuff. If you would like to take that a step further, there's a couple ways that you can get involved in the AIE Guild Twitch channel itself. So right now, I would recommend, there was this idea of communities that is gone out of Twitch, but you can tag any of your streams as tagged to AIE Guild. So any of us then could just be searching for the AIE Guild tag and see any stream from any channel. However, we also have the ability to host you. So if you've got a stream coming up, then it's going to be AIE focused, put a note out there to either to the officers, or put it in the guild channel, or put it in the LFO channel. You want to talk to an officer, let us know, and we can set you up to be hosted on the AIE Twitch channel officially. I'd love to see more of that kind of thing going on as well. Let's fill up that channel. Let's get some subscribe and views going on that channel. Less because we know that you all like AIE, but this is another tool for us to sort of get our view of, this is the way a guild should work, and this is a really cool guild. Maybe we should get some more guildies out using streaming as a mechanism to do that. So check that out. Okay, winding up towards the end, a couple more things to go through. I did want to talk about communication internally and the tools we have available. I wanted to introduce the topic so I could show this picture, which I left in the slide deck for no particular reason, because I just love it, and Trinity is awesome, and she's on the phone, and that's the kind of communication. But I think I'll let Link kick it off, and we can all chime in on these major tools for the guild. You want to kick it off, Link?
I was about to make the joke. It's like, hey, 2003 wants its picture back.
Yes.
Oh, come on, that is timeless. That is a timeless classic picture for forever.
Just look at her. She's yearning to reach out and touch you.
Oh, look, yes, that is just such a communicate with me look on her face.
Oh,
okay.
I digress. So, yes, so communication tools, like we talked about, like Twitter, we talked about Discord, we talked about like voice chat in Discord. The biggest thing, the biggest takeaway is that you need to go ahead and engage and make friends and go out and actually take a chance. And you need to go out there and just kind of talk to folks. Engagement. It's a big deal. I use the example of Eve where we're at, where it's like Eve is a terrible single player game. And I was counseling someone just the other day who joined the corp about maybe 2 months ago, and he's been playing the game by himself as a single player and just having a hard time about it, so, to the point where it's like, oh, I want to quit. And I'm like, well, why do you want to quit? Why are you having, what's some of the difficulties? Oh, I'm kind of shy, and it takes me a long time to get to know people and engage. And I asked, pretty matter of fact, so how has that been going for you? Just terrible. It's like I keep getting blown up. I don't know what's going on. I never know when the bad guys show up, or when they're coming. What do I do? And it's like, dude, you got to reach out and talk to people. You need to reach out and kind of make friends and get out. Get out of your your comfy spot and actually take a chance on people. So the tools that we've got, we have a lot of them, but if you don't use them, it doesn't help you out and help out your fellow guildmates, because that stranger one day might be your best friend the next day, or the butt of your jokes. Just ask Hoots.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like as we look under like the toolbox rundown, we've got the website, we've got the Discord, we've got the calendar, we've got Twitch, we've got Facebook, just YouTube. You got the hashtag. Let people know what's going on. Reach out and say, hey, I'm gonna go play. I don't know what's a good game. Hey, I'm gonna go play Splatoon, and I need someone to go play with me. Just reach out and say, hey, I like to go play Splatoon.
Yep.
I like to go shoot at people with like paint buckets. Why not?
And it may take a couple tries. I know sometimes it's difficult to get people revved up. The that point of the bullet number 2 about AIE is Discord centric. This is sort of the modern guild communication tool. So I'd recommend put it as Lank is saying, put yourself out there, ask the question, get people engaged. We don't use voice as much as we could just to hang out in voice in Discord. We can do that a little bit more. Also, just on the point on Discord, we'll get to a couple of others of these things, but we're starting to get more creative in our use of the channels and pins, and we've got some guild communication projects in place that may even do some more interesting things inside of Discord. Keep an eye on Discord. Stay connected in Discord. I always have Discord running. It definitely keeps me connected no matter what game I'm playing to all of the games and all of the guilds. If you get on in I don't know, Lord of the Rings and say, hey, I need an invite, and I'm over playing Star Wars, I can still see it, and I can get over there and I can log in and get you an invite. Discord is where things are at. So keep that in mind.
Discord is life, and as we all know, life is tacos. Just ask like Razov, who came down to LA from Vancouver, and we grabbed, just a couple weeks ago we went out and grabbed tacos.
You'll have to come to Chicago. I've got a new taco place about 2 miles from my house. Very authentic.
So
really good.
I keep promising my brother to go to Minneapolis, and if I'm going to go, I'm going to make it like a week and a half thing. So I've got friends in Chicago, and I got to go and harass Hoots in Green Bay, because he now lives in Green Bay. But I need to go in a day where I'm not going to freeze to death and turn into a popsicle.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. So come back in 6 months.
And feed him something that isn't Taco Bell, because science is a terrible diet.
So Discord, and as Lank says, I think he set the foundation for all of these. Use these tools. These are here for you to use. The calendar is another really good one. So the calendar is live. Seema made this point to me earlier in the week. If you look at the calendar link on the Guild webpage, it's embedded in our older wiki, our wiki tool inside the Guild website, which isn't as updated these days. We've got a side project. Maybe we're going to refresh it or not. But don't pay attention to the thing at the bottom of the wiki page that says the wiki page hasn't been updated since 2012. That's a live Guild calendar in Google Calendar, and all of those events are current and live. All of our monthly events for World of Warcraft get posted in there. Our monthly events for Star Wars: The Old Republic get posted in there. You can even see things just to keep a heads up on, hey, this I can see when the officers are meeting, and maybe I could provide some input because I know they're going to go into a WoW meeting, and this is something I think they should sort of check in on or ask about. That stuff is out there. That's live. You can subscribe to it. The guild calendar is a really good tool also.
And if you're a raid leader, especially in WoW, Cyrene has been working really hard to keep all the raid information on the calendar up to date. So yeah,
definitely. Umami. So Umami is our guild registration tool. Umami has been in on hold from a development perspective for quite a while now, almost a year now. This we can come back to in a little bit more detail in the Q&A as well if people have questions around it. We're on hold because we're trying to figure out what comes next. We had a couple false starts in terms of designing maybe just like an Umami 2.0. There are some features which we'd like to update into it. It's a custom designed and custom developed tool, which had a lot of work that went into it, but as a result has a lot of work to maintain it. It's still our guild registration tool for now, though. So in terms of using it as a guild registration tool, you need to get an app in for a character. If the level isn't right or the race isn't right or it hasn't been updated in the tool, that's okay. The main thing in there for almost all of the game divisions is just getting the character name in there when you need to get an application in. Behind the scenes, we're going to continue to think about what comes next, what the future state is going to look like 2, 3, 4 years from now. What will gaming communities use from a how to keep track of our members' perspective, and we're going to try to get ahead of that. But we'll release information around that as it becomes available. It's not yet available. That's just sort of where Umami stands today. Twitch, I think we went over in great detail, but yes, definitely keep an eye out for the creators channel for people that are in there on Twitch. If you go in there, Dan Kinney taught me this trick. I like to support Dan Kinya and the ESO Mandatory Fun Night when I can't be there. I open up the Twitch tab, and you need to have Twitch unmuted on the Twitch page, but you can mute the tab in Chrome, and it will still count as a viewer to bump up that viewer count. Because when there's a higher viewer count, then other people who are looking for ESO content to go and watch see that viewer count tick up. So I like to do that. That's a little side pro tip there.
And they will come.
I mentioned Facebook as beta, and then YouTube is in, I'll just call it alpha. This town hall will be produced as a video. That video will get published to the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel will get a link published into Discord, and everybody will have access to it. We don't yet have a custom URL for the YouTube channel. We haven't really figured out all of what we want to do with it yet. It's there. It's got a bunch of Summer of Love videos out on there that are produced and saved off with title screens and everything. But this will be an interesting one for us to keep an eye on over the course of the next couple of months as we develop it. All right, home stretch. One last thing before we kick off the Q&A. I did want to mention, because it's sort of a question that comes up from time to time, is what's up with the officers? What do you guys even do? What are officers for? We do have quite a few officers across our gaming community, and the officers are a service arm of the guild. We do the jobs that need to get done. We invite people to be officers when we have a role and a job to fill. We sort of interview people to sort of fill that role, and it's got to be somebody that can commit to the job. But we're servants to all of you. And that's sort of really the core of how officers work. There are monthly meetings within the divisions. Well, some divisions better than others. Cyrene is very good about a monthly schedule for WoW meetings, a monthly at a minimum, then ad hoc meetings for extra things where the WoW officers need to talk about business at hand. Star Wars officers are going to have a meeting next week, and we're going to be talking about things like, what are the changes coming up in the latest patches? How is that going to affect our mandatory fun nights and the fun we have with the guild? Do we need to make any changes to our process or our teams or anything like that? There are a bunch of broader issues that the officers continue to work on as well. So it's sort of grayed out here in the background, but this is what you're sort of seeing there is a sort of a bunch of post-it notes and an evolving design session where we've been thinking very hard about the evolution of the guild over the course of many months so far, gathering up a bunch of feedback and putting that through a structured process so we can evolve the guild along a number of vectors, both the internal workings of the guild, our external view of the guild, and our member experience, for example. We've broken that up into 7 teams where there's 7 groups of officers working on individual parts of these problems. Things like, how do we ensure that new members, when they come in the guild, feel like they're engaged as the guild gets bigger and we get spread out as a bigger community? How might we make a really effective and good new member experience? Okay, there's the idea of a working group. So we're working on those kinds of challenges. What you'll see from us, and you may already have seen, and some of you may have been involved, is we also get the rest of the community involved, and we do surveys, and we sort of interview people, and we ask raid teams, hey, would this be interesting to you from a guild service perspective? And that's where the recent blog post for WoW has come out of. That's just a little bit of a taste that I wanted to put out there for the kind of things that the officers are doing. What you all can expect is, as you have questions or suggestions or other ideas, we would love to hear those. Definitely get those, PM them to me or PM them to an officer, or send an email to our officer email list, or post it in Discord in the LFO channel, or just in general say, hey, here's a cool idea for the guild. We do pay attention to those. We do work on those. Now, we all like to play games, and we're all just doing this in our free time. So sometimes things take quite a while to evolve, but all of this stuff is something that we all take very seriously, and we do evolve over time, and nothing really falls through the cracks. And if you're wondering what the status of any particular decision or item is, feel free to ask, and we'll do our best to provide transparent answers. And speaking of answers, let's answer some questions. All right, I do see a couple questions in the Q&A. I'm going to try to... Let's just answer some of the questions first. I'll also then try in just a second to unmute, and we can get some more of the questions going on. I wanted to go through a couple of questions that came in already in the Q&A channel earlier in the week. One of them in particular was about forums. A couple people still like the idea of guild forums. We had guild forums in the past. If you didn't see that post, it was maybe about 6-8 months ago now. The forums got deleted. There was a hacking incident with Scott Johnson and Frog Pants. It destroyed the forums and put them into an unrecoverable state, and it was a loss to us. But we asked the hard question about how much of a loss was it, and what should we do to replace it. Even at the time when the forums were live, just before they were deleted, their usage was winding down. The one part of the forums that was still relatively in use, that was getting more than one post a month, was the raid team forums, because people would say, hey, I have a raid team and I need this person, or even just one thread that was, hey, here's the latest for our raid team. So that kind of thing, we flipped that around and said, how do we support that function in the new world? We added 2 channels to Discord, the raid recruitment channel and the raid news channel. I've been seeing a lot of traction in there. I've been seeing some good conversations in there, especially as people are progressing through normal and heroic of the raids. That's looking really interesting. We seem to be getting good use of that. That also matches the way other guilds, big, large community raiding guilds, are doing that same sort of thing. It's put the idea of us needing forums a little bit on the back burner. So it's still a question we're thinking about, balancing the cost and effort of spinning up and maintaining forums versus the value that we would get out of it. It's definitely not completely off the table, but it's still on the back burner at this point. So I just wanted to be clear about that. Guild stats. So do you want to cover off guild, how guild stats sort of works? Because Tatsumi isn't here. Or
Oh,
I can. I'm sort of
yeah,
throwing
because
it out to you. I didn't prep you
because
this.
I was the one who initially asked him to do it, and it kind of run through there. So, uh, back when it was back when I was the WoW guild leader, we needed to kind of get an idea since we didn't have the real tools at the time to see what guild population was in order to compare it to like the actual amount of gold we were getting at the time, because back then we were getting a sizable amount of gold through guild activity and guild achievements. So we needed to figure out uh, a way to look at current usage and potential future usage, so we wouldn't necessarily run out of gold, and kind of deciding on whether what we wanted to open up when it comes to um, like when it came to the gear repair, that became kind of like a now widely adopted kind of benefit that came from that. So it gives us an idea to kind of to see where the guild's at, where the guild's going, and kind of also understand how the patterns of players that come and go depending on the expansion has become truly an incredible tool to kind of see what's going on, how it's going, how much gold we've burned through, the and also kind of balancing out the co-guild populations, because without that, the possibility of having one co-guild larger than the other is real. So that kind of metric becomes important. I don't know if any of the other games have that. Eve has something like that, but with usually third party stuff, and usually it's because we're trying to catch spies. So it's a different altogether methodology there.
We started it a couple years ago in Star Wars, and then sort of fell off. We didn't have as much of a need because we weren't doing the balance in the same way, so we let it drop. But it's
Yeah, but
definitely a useful tool that has
yeah,
provided
but
some
when you
interesting insights over time in WoW.
yeah, and particularly when you have like seven co-guilds, and then you have to balance out and kind of move gold around to kind of even that out.
Yeah.
It becomes very important to get an idea of what traffic patterns are like.
So the extended version of that question, I think it was Cardinal who asked the question of, given that, do we have any evidence of how many active members there are? And the answer to that is yes, with the statistics that Tetsemi is tracking in the spreadsheet monthly. He said, well, it feels like the guild might have less people than it had before. It feels like it might have fewer raid teams. Is that actually true? And the answer to that is, on balance, no. We're slightly under where we've been in previous expansions. I think we're one less raid team than the last expansion, but we're pretty close. Guild chat and active Greenwall chat might be a little bit less, and there's some discussion going on in the Q&A channel here in Discord on the side. I think the new world of Discord and individual team and raid team discords and how those get spun off has a little bit of an impact on this. So
Yeah,
while the green wall itself, the guild chat itself in any particular game may be less than in the past, the still overall social interaction amongst members is probably just as high, if not higher, than it's been in the past. It's just now spread across more channels.
yeah. If you have to look at the different kind of like factors that goes along with it, because Greenwall traffic is dependent on whether new players are using uh, the guild chat Greenwall app, the mod. So there's always that. Newer players means that they may not necessarily adopt that. At least like I can use Eve as an example. Almost all our like text socializing and other things is actually done through Discord. It actually is not done in game chat. We actually, we exist outside of the game most of the time because we're reliant so much on again, AIU has its own Discord service because of operations and security, but yeah, we're highly dependent on that. So I don't think it's that there are less people. I think it's a redistribution of the channels of communication people are using.
Yeah, and that's okay. Another question. So umami next, umami updates. That question was asked. I think we covered it for the most part. There were a couple more detailed addendums to that question, which I'll just run through real quick, just for the record. So what is Umami next? Well, it's really nothing yet because we did start development on it, but we sort of took a step back from that. There was going to be an Umami 2.0. We're thinking about trying to go after API keys, like within the WoW API system, to be able to say, okay, well, if we just have your Blizzard ID, we can pull your characters from the API, but we're not exactly sure if we want to go through the effort to do that development and how it would work in the other divisions. So we've taken a step back for now. Who's doing it? Stig did all the development. So Stig, one of our council members, did all the development in the past. Stig started the development on Umami 2.0, but again, we've said, sort of that's on hold. Let's think hard about really what the future is. The third part of that question was, what is it aimed at doing? That's a really good question, and that's what we're trying to think of. We're trying to ask the question is, what does it mean to have modern guild management, and how might we do that with tools that are available or tools that we can to potentially develop on our own, but in a way that we're going to be able to balance the value versus the effort. And then the final part of that question was, can we give feature requests? Yes, definitely. My perspective on that, especially around something like this, about here's a tool and we're talking about, how might that look in the future? If you frame your request for features, your requests around that as, hey, here's something that would be useful to me in terms of how the guild is managed and listing of guildies. Here's what would provide value to me, or here's what would provide value to my raid team. That kind of thing is interesting. That kind of thing of, here's the value of a particular use case, and then we'll be able to take those things then and socialize it around to other people and say, hey, does this match to what you might need in your raid team? And if we get enough momentum behind that, that then could become a major factor in how we decide what could potentially come next in a tool like this, or any of the tools or any of the services that we provide. So think about that. Again, Seema, I might be putting you on the spot, but the fourth question that was out there, and actually was not out there in the Q&A channel, but does come up from time to time, that I thought would be a fun one to talk about, is, hey, should we have an alliance guild in WoW? And while the answer is no, I know, and you've been part of these discussions in the past, and people may not realize, and I thought this would be a great thing to talk about. What is the answer to that, and why is that the answer, Seema?
Well, we don't have an alliance guild at the moment, but it does come up.
Yeah, WoW in particular.
Yep. Yes, this is specific to WoW. We don't have one yet. We do review that from time to time, and I personally think it would be worth doing, at least on a trial basis, to have an alliance guild on Earth and Rain. The problems that we need to address are, who would run it? Would all the officers then have to have an alliance character? Would it be, cut into everybody's game time? Because we don't want to impose something onerous on people, right?
Right.
We also didn't want to make any major changes like this right when BFA was rolling out, because we didn't want to dilute what was going on there. Plus, we have a feeling that, if people who wanted to play Alliance are already playing Alliance and have, guilded up somewhere else. So, like in CTR. So yeah, there's a lot of issues around it, but I'm definitely open to it.
Right. And this is a question that both the WoW directors, so that's Asheo, Tetsemi, and Cyrene, they think about and revisit this question from time to time, and the broader officer community and the AIE Council. All of us, the WoW officers and the council, all got together and thought really hard about this in the lead up to BFA, and do revisit this question quite often because it's an important question. So although we might be flippant and, and just sort of off the cuff say, no, we'll never do an alliance guild, it's not strictly true. We could end up doing one at some point when the time is right or when it makes sense. It's just for where we're at and the value we thought we could get out of it, and the problems that it would bring, or the complications that it could potentially bring, and the big extra effort that it would have, and us not even having character slots to be able to have enough people to potentially run it. The answer was no for now, but it is a question we will continue to revisit over time.
If I can chime in here.
Yeah.
If there's one thing that you need to know about the AIE officers, is that for the most part, they're problem solvers, and we can't help when someone throws a problem at us to start like kibitzing and trying to figure it out and trying to get it to work. But this is one of those complicated, super complicated, but in doing so, it opens up a big can of worms. And do we have enough manpower? Do we have enough resources to make it happen? And not to mention, it would be a great cultural shift as well.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest like issue to consider is that it'd be great to have an alliance guild on our server, but then you run into potential of conflicts between AIE on the alliance side and AIE on the horde side. And remember how really mad you get when someone steals that node, or someone comes down and ganks you, and you find out they're wearing your same like guild tag. And so
Well, I mean, that's old news, right? Because nodes are shared and you can only be ganked if you want to be ganked.
true,
Yeah.
but
So
there so that's something that
that's
with the mechanics
evolving within the
that's been
game and the
addressed.
mechanics, right?
Yeah, so that particular like point of friction may be changing or has changed.
Yeah. So all of these kind of factors make it an interesting question and one that would potentially evolve over time. And we have other divisions that have done, it's smaller scale, so there's less of the potential complications. But we do have Star Wars, who's been multi-faction, or Imperial and Republic since its inception. There's things we've learned in doing that, both pros and cons, that contribute to the conversation. So it's interesting in general. All right, that wraps up the core intro questions we had. I do want to take a scan through the town hall channel and check. I thought I saw at least one other question in here, or a couple other questions. We'll go through that as we're doing this. So I'm not exactly sure. I'll cut it right here, but I'm going to try to open up the discussion now because we're getting along. But let's say that this is the core Q&A wrapped up, and we'll probably wrap up the video here, so it's not too long unless we get a couple other things that'll edit in. But definitely thank you everyone for the October 2018 AIE Town Hall participation. And this video recording hopefully is available to all of you watching it after the fact. Anyone who is watching it after the fact or listening through it after the fact, continue to keep those questions, that Q&A coming in to Discord. We'll continue to have this conversation over time. I've titled this October 2018, hopefully as part of an effort to do these more often. It's not just the 2018 Town Hall. So I would like to have these quite a bit more often than we have in the past. I think all of us would. That's going to be part of one of our guild communication initiatives in the past. So we hope to talk to all of you soon. Thank you, Lank. Thank you, Seema, for this part of the discussion, but we'll open it up here in a second as well.